I want to suck your blood. That's right, guys. We are back with the Halloween Haunt month of October. And today, we're doing vampires. One of the most requested archetypes in all of my Let's Make It meta series. And although I've never taken a look at this deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! As a card game, I do love Dracula. See, I actually am a bit of a nerd and I read a lot of books. And one that I read about 2 years ago was Bram Stoker's Dracula, like the original book. And if you haven't read it and only familiar with vampires and other forms of media, then I recommend you give it a read. So I do like that whole vampire and Dracula aesthetic, and I hope to do it proud today in vampires. Now, before we begin, if you guys are enjoying this series, make sure you like, subscribe, and again, leave a comment down below on what decks you want to see me take a look at in the future. Because even though I may not get to all of them, because it takes time, I will see every single response, every single comment, and the ones that get voted on the most or get spammed the most are the ones I'm more likely to do in the near future. Now, with that said, let's take a look at vampires. So, vampires are an interesting theme. There are a lot of different vampire cards, spanning decades ever since kind of the dawn of Yu-Gi-Oh! But for a long time, they kind of lacked any sort of identity. Now, one of the most famous vampire cards from way back when, used in Go format, was Vampire Lord, a card which kind of fit the theme of vampire, being that it would come back every single turn, and that it would drain your opponent's life force by sending cards from their deck to the grave. However, as far as an actual archetypal identity goes with a coherent theme, it's not something they ever really had. Not until, I guess, more recently. 2014 isn't really recent, is it? Or 2013. Oh, God. I'm old. But still, by my standards, when I was learning the game, vampires kind of had nothing. At some point, there was a structure deck, Vampire Genesis, which gave us garbage. But eventually, we got a bit more of a actual strategy with vampire cards. And with a bunch of Exceed monsters that got released over the years, Vampire got a kind of identity, being a bunch of different monsters that could revive from the grave, require tribute summons, could steal your opponent's monsters, then overlay with them, regardless of the level, make different XYZs, as well as send cards from your opponent's deck to the grave. Now, the parts of this deck we are going to be exploring the most are the ability to revive itself, because, shocker, reviving monsters is good, as well as stealing your opponent's monsters and making XYZs with them. This will give us a way to break through fields, apply pressure, kill your opponent fast, as well as make a board with a bunch of interrupts. Now, the most important card in this theme, in my opinion, is going to be Vampire Ghost, a newer card which says on normal summon, can send another vampire from your hand or field to the grave, and then if you do, send a level 2 or lower vampire from your deck to the graveyard. Now, this effect is incredibly important for vampire setup because you have a bunch of graveyard effects to revive, including low-level ones, and this will set up your combos pretty effectively, as we'll see later in the video. It also says that during the main phase, you can quick effect, banish from the grave, and pay 500 life points to immediately after it's resolved, normal summon a vampire monster. This can act as a nice form of extension, as well as disruption in some cases during your opponent's turn. Now, obviously, without context of what the other vampire cards do, this doesn't really give us much information. Let's first go over the small vampires that we'll be sending from deck to grave that are quite important for the strategy. First off, we got a level 1 Vampire Familiar, which when special summoned, you can pay 500 life points to add a vampire monster from your deck to your hand. And whilst in the graveyard, you can send a vampire from your hand or field to the grave to special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. It only uses each effect once per turn. But yeah, this is just like a fair version of Spiral Quick Fix. And thankfully, there's another version of this, because we got Vampire Retainer, which on special summon lets you pay 500 to add a vampire spell or trap to the hand. And just like Familiar, if it's in your grave, can send a vampire from your hand or field to grave to revive it. Now, this one is level 2, so you're not going to have like rank 1 crazy synergy, but this will give you bodies to link away into something a little more powerful, as well as both filling up your grave and advancing your game plan further to something you actually want to do. Now, these alone aren't the powerhouses in the deck. Those come in the form of tribute monsters, because remember, as I said, there's a lot of them in this archetype. Typically not a good trait, but yep. First off, we got Shadow Vampire, a level 5 with 2000 attack that cannot be used for an Exceed summon except for a dark monster. And when it's normal summon, you'll special summon a dark vampire monster from your deck or hand, but then you cannot attack except with that monster. So yeah, this card is just like bad tour guide from the underworld, but it's what vampires got, so you make it work because special summoning a vampire from the deck is still like better than not doing that. The card I often want to summon is Vampire Scarlet Scourge, which on summon, you can pay 1,000 living points to target a vampire in your grave and then special summon it, but it cannot attack this turn. It also says at the end of the battle phase, if this card destroyed any monsters by battle, you can special summon them from the graveyard to your field. So you can take control of their monsters, as I said, and then turn them into your XYZs. This card's important because if you summon it from deck with your shadow, it'll revive whatever you tributed or anything else you already had in grave and then just let you build up your field really strongly. I'm lacking descriptor words there, sorry. Now we're going to get another body as well with this vampire card, Vampire Grace. A level 6 that says when level 5 or higher zombie monster special summon to your field by the effect of a zombie monster while this card is in your grave, you can pay 2,000 life points to special summon this card. And then it has some nonsense effect about sending cards from your opponent's deck to the grave, which do not activate. It'll only work to hurt you. Yeah. But the essential here is pretty obvious, right? This will summon a bunch of high-level monsters. And now Scourge and Grace are both level 6, so even though this deck will often summon vampire monsters, there's one rank 6 that is so absurdly broken, especially with graveyard decks. When you have 2 6s, you'll summon it. Looking at you, Beatrice. Last Stronghold, banned in OCG, banned in TCG. Master Duel is the last sanctuary for Beatrice. For now. I'm sure this video will be obsolete in 2 months as this card gets banned when Fiendsmith comes out or some shit. I don't know, man. Now, that wraps up all the vampire main deck monsters that I include in my deck. And there's one that gets talked about a lot in vampire decks that I'm not playing, and I kind of just have to scratch my head why it's played. You know, obviously when I'm looking at a deck and I haven't played it before, I'll do research on other example lists and other matches so I can kind of learn, right? I learn from others, and then I take my own twist on it, given my own thoughts, my own expertise within mathematics and that sort. But one card that a lot of decks play, and they praise, and I do not get it, is Vampire Voivode. What the hell does this card do for you? I'll read it for you real quick. It's a level 8. It says if it's normal summon, not special summon, if it's normal summon, which is 2 attributes. 2! You can target up to 2 monsters in your opponent's grave, which means you can't even set it up except with milling their deck, and it's random, so it's not, like, set upable at all. Special summon those 2 monsters into your mode of defense and negate their effects. So you can't even do, like, crazy stuff by stealing, like, Snake Eye cards or whatever. And then it says when a monster effect is activated while a monster with the same name is in the graveyard, you can negate the activation. It's just, like, a low-quality interrupt. And then it says if a monster special summons from your opponent's grave, you contribute 2 monsters to summon this card from your grave. I don't get it. Why is this card good? It's a double tribute with very lackluster effects. Like, it has 3 effects, but none of them are really that insane. Revive 2 from your opponent's grave is like, eh. And if you do that on special summon, then I'd say, oh man, going second, this card can be a bomb. But going second, I have to tribute 2 monsters to summon this. When am I going to have the resources to do that? So I think this card is not good, and it is not in my deck. And I'm going to catch a lot of hate from vampire fans probably for that, but I don't get it. I don't get why this is people's ace monster. This card sucks. Now, on the topic of ace monsters, the Vampire X-Seeds are actually pretty solid, as well as they got some Link monsters that are also pretty good. So let's go over the extra deck monsters real quick. Now, I'm not playing all of them. I think I've left out the one rank 5 that came out first. I am playing the rank 6, rank 8, link 2, and link 3. Now, the first one is one you should be all familiar with, and that is a Vampire Sucker. It requires 2 zombie monsters, and if you tribute a monster, you can tribute summon a zombie your opponent controls, even if you don't control it. I guess this makes tribute something easier, but it requires you to get Zombie World, which is like even more setup you have to get through. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, this card's cool because you can use it as interruption with Vampire Ghost to tribute your opponent's turn if you have Zombie World up, which can be part of your end field with Beatrice sending Necroworld Banshee as an interrupt, not as extension through your opponent's field. But sure. Now, the other reason to play this card is you can target a monster in your opponent's grave, summon it to your opponent's field, and then also says if a zombie monster is special summoned on the grave, draw a card. So this card is not like broken, but it'll draw cards, and it'll provide some sort of interrupt in the opponent's turn. If your opponent has like an Ash Blossom in their grave, then that also triggers the draw effect, even in that Zombie World. So that's neat, but not a brilliant card. And the better Vampire Link is the next one. That is Vampire Fascinator. It's Link 3 that requires 2+ monsters, including a zombie. And if it's Link Summon, you can target a monster in your opponent's grave, summon it to your field in defense mode. And then you're locked into zombies for the rest of the turn. That's fine. And you can also tribute a vampire monster that includes itself to then take control of one monster your opponent controls until the end of the turn. So with this, you'll essentially be able to set up any rank 6 or rank 8 within your archetype. You'll see why in a second, as well as kind of rip apart your opponent's resources, or because this one doesn't negate the effects, maybe take advantage of some cool stuff like pushing back their cards with Flamebird Dragon. Now, the first activity you play is something you should all be familiar with. That is the Zombie Vampire. It is a rank 8 that says if you use a monster with a level that is owned by your opponent for the Exceed summon of this card, you can treat it as level 8. Now, people often forget this effect in traditional decks because your deck that's summoning this often is used to summoning this with Horus monsters or Chaos monsters and that sort. But we have to remember that's not really the intentional use for this card. It's supposed to be in the vampire theme. And ironically, when you use cards like Talons, Change of Heart, or the Dark Charmer to steal your opponent's monsters, it makes Zombie Vampire easier to summon in those other themes as well. One cannot be targeted with the effect special summon monsters except those summoned from the grave, so that can be kind of cool. People often forget about that. And it also says you can detach material from this card, and each player mills 4, and then if a monster was sent to the graveyard by this effect, you can bring one of those to your field. So if your opponent mills a cool card, you can take it. Otherwise, this is just milling for your own zombie theme, as well as you can set up some cool graveyard plays, like with Fascinator stealing something later. And the next Vampire XYZ is similar. This one's a rank 6, but again can use your opponent's monsters as material. It lets you detach a material to target a monster opponent controls and send it to the grave. But then also, if a monster is sent to your opponent's field to the graveyard by a card effect, or a monster is destroyed by battle and to your opponent's graveyard, you can then detach a material from this card to special one of those monsters, defense mode, to your field. So this will act as a way of stealing monsters, even if it's a little convoluted. Now with both Dhampir and Zombie Vampire having pretty big attack points, they help set up each other into good lethal pushes. And lastly, on the Vampire theme, does have a large suite of spells and trap cards. However, they honestly, mostly pretty bad. So we only play 2 different cards, and we need something to search off Vampire Retainer. The first one is going to be our spell card of Vampire's Desire, which is a normal spell card that lets you use one of the following effects. Try to face a monster you control, send a vampire with a different level, and then if you do, you can try to face a monster you control, then send a vampire from your deck to the grave with a different level than the targeted monster, and then it becomes that level. Or you can target a vampire in your grave, and then send a monster you control to the grave, and then summon the targeted monster. The card is fine. It's like a bad Foolish Burial. If this card wasn't searchable, I wouldn't play it probably, but I've included 2 of them in my deck just for consistency reasons and giving me something to search. As well, it being a vampire card, I mean, you can discard it for effect like Retainer or Familiar. And then the last vampire spell trap, the card we actually want to search pretty often, is Vampire's Domination, a counter trap card that says when a spell trap or monster effect is activated while control a vampire, you get the activation if you destroy that card. Then if it's a monster, you can gain life points equal to its original attack. This card is just like Infernity Barrier, it's just a non-mitigate. So obviously searching this card is pretty good to back up any sort of field. And there'll be no question this card is an instant include in the deck. It's searchable, only gonna play 1. Anyways, I know that was long, but those are just the vampire cards we play, and there's many more that I don't. Anyways, let me show you guys what the strategy will look like. Okay, so this is my vampire deck, and as you can see here, we've fitted it out with a couple other themes. Obviously, you got some staples in there: Maxi, Ash, Callby, and Talents. You could play a little more aggressively going second type of deck with this, with Change of Hearts on top of the Talents, to really take advantage of the fact that Zombie Vampire and Dhampir can be made with your opponent's monsters. However, decided with Tempai in the meta that I couldn't like go too all in on going second, because if they made me start, I'd kind of just lose, and I needed to have more flexible game plans. So I went with a more hedged approach, and obviously Talent is still very playable going first. I've also fitted this deck out with 2 other themes: the Kashtira cards and the Horus cards. Horus cards are more obvious. They fill the graveyard, they set up rank 8s for Zombie Vampire, and they can apply a lot of damage and pressure, as well as giving you follow-up with the King Starker sitting on the field. The Kashtira card's a little less intuitive, but as I wanted to include 3 Shadow Vampires into my deck for consistency, I also had to make sure I had ways to tribute summon it pretty, low maintenance, and Unicorn Kashtira is a very convenient and effective way to do so. As well as I can eat through interruptions and do well in simplified game states, where the rest of my hand traps or my opponent's interrupts will get used on my vampire cards. So I think they complement this type of deck pretty well. Now, as the extra deck here is something I'm not as certain about. I kind of just threw cards in. IPSP is a classic Enfield piece we will be incorporating here. Elf works well with them because we do have a bit of level 2s, Vampire Retainer being the one that sticks out the most to me. Arc is an easy choice because it's really good as Zombie Vampire, as well as our deck is all dark. And access code for lethal shots. And I've included a cool package because I had some space, and that is Gigantic Sprite with Downer Magician and Zeus. And that's not because you have a lot of level 2s, because you can make Elf to revive a Link to, like Dark Charmer, and then make Gigantic and then Downered, which means that you can have a field state with 0 level 2s turn into a rank 2 Gigantic and then to Zeus. And while that doesn't scream broken, it's like solid. So it's something I wanted to try do. As well as if you get stopped and don't get to access Vampire Retainer in your normal combos, Gigantic Sprite could be a way of accessing the Retainer later and then getting Vampire Domination, which will for sure be one of the most important pieces of interruption in our combo. Now that we've kind of ironed out the whole game plan for this deck, it's time to duel. Okay, we have won the roll, and it's time for our opponents to feel the icy grip of our vampire strategy. All right, this is a simple start. I got 1 starter. We'll summon it, and on summon we'll use the effect to send Retainer to the graveyard, and we will then add to hand. Ooh, or not. Imperm is probably the only thing that's going to be kind of annoying, because obviously I've called by and Talents. Anything besides that, I'm mega chillin'. If it's not Maxi, then I'll have to consider holding Call by the Grave for the Maxi, depending on how they interact with me, because that is the card that really is going to cripple me the most here. Although if I get Veilered here or Ashed here, I probably will Call by it still. It is good enough. It goes through. Okay. So I'm going to grab the Grace. I'm going to discard it off of my vampires. putting it in the graveyard. And I want to send to the graveyard. I already have retainers, so I'm going to send familiar. Easy choice. Let it go through. So now I'm going to use the familiar's effect. I'm going to add from deck to hand a monster. Let's discard the grace here. Special summon this out. And let's add from deck to hand. Now whatever I add here, I'll probably just throw away for the retainer. So I can put another retainer in the grave. That's probably what I'm going to do. So thinking here, again, which leads me to believe this might be like an infinite impermanence type situation. There it is. Obviously, I can't interact with this. But what shall I do? Because obviously, if I use retainer, I have to discard the Shadow Vampire from my hand. So what's the best way of approaching this? I need discard in the graveyard to get my extra summon out. You can link summon Vampire Sucker and then go tribute summon the Vampire Sucker out, right? That's probably what I want to do. Yeah, I think that's the best play. I'm going to go. It's going to be a draw as well. I will lose the retainer. This is okay. Not retainer, familiar. And then I'm going to activate the effect of the Vampire Ghost. I guess I could have used retainer sending from field. But I think I can do that later and that'll be fine. I'm not sure. Maybe that was better. Anyways, from the deck here, I can get Scourge. Hopefully no second imperm here. Okay, now this is concerning because I can't beat a second imperm. Resolves. Okay, so I'm going to get the Scarlet Scourge from the deck. And let's continue paying some more life points. I can chain block this to play around. Doesn't really matter. Oh no, I did this in the wrong order actually. It's supposed to be I could have got the draw if I did this the other way around. It's fine. I don't need it. I don't need the draw that bad. Or I'll still be able to get it just with the different effects with the retainer. Then I'll get out the Vampire Sucker. I don't need the level 5, so I'm just going to send this off now for retainer. Send the Vampire here. Let me draw off the Vampire Sucker. And then also search Vampire Domination, which should be pretty good. Okay, goes through. So let's get Domination for very obvious reasons. Good card. Draw a card. Desire. I go Gigantic Elf ever. You put the retainer back in the graveyard. Special retainer from deck. Make Elf. Revive. Make IP. And then it's live. And I can revive Vampire Sucker. On their turn. Is that good? How good that is. Alternative is I go like Elf with these two. I don't revive anything. Right? I can't. Or I go IP then Elf. Then on their turn I revive the IP and I draw cards. Nobody triggers on zombies though, right? Yeah, no, that doesn't help me. Okay, I need to play faster though, or I will time out. So let's just go for the IP. I think is the safest play. And I'm gonna set 2 cards and call it a turn. And this doesn't look too brilliant, but I have plenty of follow up. And I got a negate with some removal, and that's pretty good. I do wish there was a monster effect being used. Then obviously I get like crippled then with Call by Talents, but it would be a bit too idealistic, I guess. Sanguine Summoning. Okay, it's Tempai. What am I going to link off? I guess the graveyard doesn't matter that much, so let's get rid of this. This Vampire Sucker. I'll keep the higher attack monster. I think Ghost Ogre here. I can call by that. An easy call by. I'll save the counter trap. Okay. Forbidden Droplet. Okay, so I do have the counter trap here, which is pretty good. So this shouldn't do anything too drastic. Negate for 1. See, the thing is, they have to discard a card for this. So if I don't negate this, they search, they discard, and then I negate whatever they do next. They go Pydra. They can't attack over this. I can negate the Kaiman. If they go Chundra, I can negate this in the damage step. So I let this go through. I'll let them discard a card, and then I'll deal with this all in the next turn. It's not a big deal. Then I imagine, yeah, this here should negate the IP. Sanguine Summoning resolves. 1 in hand to a counter trap. This card doesn't generate advantage, so I should be fine. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it could be that would hurt me, but I don't think there's anything that really threatens me. Deck to hand. Yep, don't stop this. So if he adds the quick play spell, I can negate the quick play spell. And if he goes add Chandra, discard the quick play spell, I'll just negate the Chandra's effect in hand. Yep, this is just bait. I'm not stopping anything here. Again, Roku. Okay. Discarding the Kaiman. Yes, I'm just going to negate this and call it a day. This should leave them on 0 cards. And I won't gain any life points here because it's 0, but 0 is still free, so take it. They can kill one monster. They can do a bit of damage, but it's not the end of the world. There's nothing in there for me to revive, right? No. Okay, this is fine. And there's the concession. Vampires! Take game number 1. Your important men with their foolish shells cannot protect you from my power. I condemn you to living death, to eternal hunger for living blood. All right. So we've lost the roll against Yu-Gi-Oh! X3. Our hand, not looking great. Now, we play a lot of non-engine in this deck and supplementary engines to kind of avoid this from happening. Getting clogged with something this dense an engine is not great. But we'll try. We got a 6th card as well that could help us out. Now, starting off Diviner could be one of 2 things. It's Mekenko or Voiceless. That Trias does kind of signal it is Voiceless voice. Voiceless going first is scary. It's not like most broken deck in the world, but for deck that's not super gas heavy like Tier, playing through the Omni Negate that Skull Guardian provides and all the protection that the whole setup gives, it's a lot to overcome. It's a lot. And obviously this hand is not great because while I can set up some graveyard effects, if they use the Skull Guardian to negate and destroy the Vampire Ghost's normal summon, I guess it's actually fine because I have the extra another name in hand to normal summon again. So it's not completely lost if that happens. So they got Barrier, which means they didn't search the trap, which is important because that's going to be broken. Blessing's another fantastic card in the deck. Like, it's actually just a huge support. The card doesn't seem that good at first glance when you read it the first time, but very, very powerful support they got in Legacy Destruction, Legendary Destruction, whatever it's called. Okay, so they're hard ritual summoning. Didn't need Saphira. She's reading Trias, playing around a Bistral. Fair. Is it? Yeah. And then they get to search. And what are they going to search off this? Probably just Sarvis. How much does Sarvis hurt me? Not that much. I mean, like, it hurts. The issue is the Sarvis could come down twice, depending on what they have. Sarvis. So, do we just know Sarvis and that's it? I think so. I think it's just Sarvis. And then they're going to add back with this, right? Do they have anything to add back? They don't. They can just not add back the... Oh, they don't want to add back the Blessing. Okay, Maxi's not actually the worst. Because if they tribute the Sarvis, I can get some draws. It's obviously not like a good draw, but it's serviceable, I guess. Anyways, let's start off with a simple choice here, and let's get Ghost effects at discarding the Familiar. And then we'll see what happens. I hope they use Blessing and not Skull Guardian. But if they do Skull Guardian, something they will. Perfect. Blessing's fantastic. I'm going to chain Maxi here. Because if they send off the low, then it threatens 2 draws. Or if they have a low in hand. And they want to draw twice, because they're going to want to use the ritual effects here. Ash. Damn it, I tried toggling off. Because I want them to be greedy and send off the low. Because I get to call by it. This will be turned off. And they don't get the trap card. Because that's what they're going to try to do. If they have a second low in hand, they got me. Alright. This will lose the negate now. Resolve this. Yeah, so it's got the... Yeah, no, I have the Shadow Vampire search off of this. And then send back to grave the Retainer. As predicted. Yes, I wanted to try toggle off for this, because if they know this is there and they have another legitimate target in the hand, tribute for the... What's it called? For the ritual summon, they'll just do that. And obviously I want them to not do that. They have another chainable. Droll. That sucks. That does suck. Not gonna lie. Last card, Droll and Lockbird. Okay, so one of the last thing to remember, we still can't target. And then this also says this can't be shown by battle. Two things we are going to have to remember. All right, well, let's start off with, doesn't matter which one, right? Both kind of suck in this spot. Go effect, send from hand to grave. Okay, what's the best course of action here? This is fascinate a target. It does. How do I bait this out without just losing everything I have? I still need to kill these as well. I can go elf. Does elf do anything? No. I think it might just be vampire sucker and see if they negate. Yeah, vampire sucker is the best one, I think. I don't want this to be negated, but I do need to force it out somehow. Let's see if they Sarvis this. Obviously, they don't have to. Okay, so they are going to negate it. Wait, no. I messed up. I had to, oh man, I messed up. I had to use this first. Discarding this. Now I don't have a vampire on field. Oh man, now this is bad. Okay, I still have one line I can go for, but this was still a big misplay on my behalf because now I don't have like good targets for this. I have to do this now. Sent to grave. Sucks. That's my one copy. Then let's go into elf. And it's crazy this is coming up already. I feel like I had a better play than this. Obviously, I made an oopsie by not summoning the retainer out when I could. Because without controlling a vampire, I wouldn't be able to use the retainer. So I had to do something there. Because if I had the retainer up, I'd be able to tribute the Scourge and then make like an actual field, like a vampire field. But here we're going to rely on some good old Zeus shenanigans. I'm happy to put these in my deck. And then main phase 2, I'm going to go downward. I could detach to get a vampire to the deck first, like put a retainer in the grave, but it's fine. I'd rather just get the format Zeus here to stop any top deck continuous spells. You cannot top deck low either because it's call bide. Or if you top deck low and summons it, he'll be an idiot, but yeah. Anyways, let's just send these off before he top decks like Droplet or some shit. I don't think I need to hold on these. Look at the animation. Yeah. I probably shouldn't have made all those mouth sounds. Yeah, this is a fine spot. Droll. Another blessing. Okay, so I'm just going to chain Zeus. So they have one left. Not blessing, barrier. Obviously, the correct thing to do is chain it to the effect. I know the last card's Sarvis, so it doesn't matter. It's not like I'm playing around his last card being a second or third barrier. I know it's Sarvis, so he ends here. I don't know follow-up, though, so this isn't, like, super safe. And there's no one card I could draw that's really good. Best card I could draw is a hand trap. So to just keep attacking with this for game. Because no one-card combos. Actually, Shadow Vampire. Shadow Vampire, special from deck. Is there a Darkened Grave to steal? No. Is that even good? Is that even good, then? I mean, it gets me a counter trap. Like a special retainer. That's fine. I mean, it's fine. I wish I had Vampire Sucker to make afterwards. That'd be kind of cool. I got Vampire Ghost in my grave, which counts for... I'm being held hostage, though, by my opponent. They have 0 playable cards, and they're just wasting time. So they might either just concede here, or they're just going to, like, just burn my time in hopes that I'll concede. I'm not going to. I have more willpower than you. That's not much return. So I can normal Shadow Vampire, get Familiar, add another one, and then Banishment Grave, tribute over the Familiar. Then Special Retainer. Is that better? I mean, it is. It's more bodies, at the very least. I'll do this in main phase 2, because I want to attack with the Zeus first. This will, like, hurt my attacking abilities. I mean, what I do afterwards, I would just chill there with the Retainer, and I had a 4K pressure up, so it's a 2-turn clock instead of a 3-turn clock. Okay. I mean, obviously, this all depends if I draw Shadow Vampire, but planning out your turns is an important part of being a good duelist. While I'd like to say I'm an expert with vampires, I'm still learning, like... Yeah. Okay, they conceded. There you go. So, an efficient vampire victory. Okay. We have won the roll again, and our hand is looking mighty fine. I got a fair bit of options. This King Sark here, not necessary. I think we're just going to start off with Vampire Ghost, the Fear of Dracula, to our opponents. As for what I'm going to discard, let's discard the Familiar. Yeah, Familiar's better to start with. I think in case it gets stopping, go add Grace and discard the Grace for Retainer at the trap. And then... That's mighty unfortunate. That is mighty unfortunate. What am I supposed to do about this? I just can't do anything. Right? I don't have extra summon. I don't... Yeah, there's just nothing I can do. I probably wasn't supposed to add this, but... Throw away second familiar, whatever. Scum. Scum. Shifter scum. Yep. I don't know what I have to explain, guys. I can't activate a card in my hand, so... I just have nothing to activate. Oh, yeah, this is awesome. Oh, man. I like how we can defeat Tempire. We have like a game where we fight hard, and then there's just this. Like, dude, I never even close to had a chance. Like, what was I supposed to do here? All right. Anyways, let's concede this one. Looks like vampires are not going undefeated. Okay, so we've lost the roll, and we are not going first. So we're not playing versus a Tempire player, at least supposedly. Let's see how Dracula can do now. Our hand looks fine. We have Ash and Seti. That's really all I have. Hopefully, this is enough, though. This Banshee would have been nice for these Tempire players, because it stops them from doing their crazy synchros. Like, they can't make the same ones. Special from hand. That's typically not a good start for them. I wonder if that was a misclick, or that doesn't work. While you control this card, there's tribute summon to using a Naturia. Oh, this is like some really scuffed combo. Oh, that's crazy. They were using the Naturia, the Cosmo Beat mate. Is this Dance Epiphany? Oh, it's not a plan. Never mind. They can't even do that. This revives one, right? Okay, I mean, this is a pretty shit start from our opponent. I don't think they're happy with this, so I think we're okay. It revived Beetle, which leads into... What? Mantis Monk does what again? Add a Rika Trap from your deck to your hand. Rika Trap. Now, I don't remember exactly what it does. I have to reread it. Target cards up to number of different lengths you control. Destroy them. I want to Ash that. I think I'll hold the Ash for something else, because that's all I have. I think I'll cope just fine. This will destroy King Stark, essentially, which is like, obviously, like, kind of rough, but... I mean, if they knew they were going to pass, I probably would have ashed it, but you don't know, right? You could have maybe had a read, but it could have also been bait. That was a bad... actually, that was not bad, because I can discard one, and then I can normal the other. That's fine, actually. So I'm not going to discard the Banshee here. I was going to discard the Banshee originally, but Retainer is fine. Call by here would suck. No call by. Fantastic. We'll draw a card, a cash card, a Talents, a Vampire Ghost. It'll all be good. Talents. Even though it's not immediately live, like it's if the last card in hand is a hand trap, it'll serve as well. Question is, do I want to lead with this or do I want to lead with this? I think I want to lead with the Retainer, because I'd rather this resolve. This can threaten Zeus, which is pretty good. Thinking on summon. Wait, is this a counter trap? Interesting. I guess no, I don't have any triggers effect, so it might not be a counter trap. Anyways, let's send off one. Let's send off the Grace. Yeah, let's send Grace. Off this, I'm gonna add Desire, or I'm gonna add. What's the long play? I could go Gigantics and then threaten down at Zeus. Or Elf Gigantic. In which case, do I want Desire? Probably. Desire's the better card, right? So let's search. Droplet. Okay, that's a super fine droplet, because now I can Phoenix. Oh, what does that do again? This card is banished from your hand or graveyard. You can draw. Yeah, okay. Who cares? Sure. So I'm gonna lose my thing. Now I can go Elf, Gigantic, Zeus, but I want to have the battle phase. So I think there's a Dark in the Grave. There's not a Dark in the Grave. But it's Elf then, right? Just Elf. Yeah, it just has to be Elf. This will mean using my battle phase, unfortunately, but it'll have to suffice. Bring back the Retainer. Can't beast again. If I could search off this again and be super broken. Vampire cards are fair though. They do say once per turn on them. Okay, so let's turn this into the gigantic. I am not going to use the effect. I do not want to lock myself into 2s for extremely apparent reasons. And I wonder if they'll pop this. They shouldn't. They should wait for me to enter battle phase. But damn, I've used gigantic twice now. I honestly, like, I knew these cards were good, and I thought they could come up, but I didn't think I would summon them twice in like this video, because like it's incredibly, it's like entirely conceivable these cards just never come up at all. All right, so that's a graveyard effect, right? If a face of plan you control, store with battle card effects while in a grave, ban shit target monster controls destroy. Okay, cool, that's fine. Actually, you know what's going to really destroy them? I'm going to turn all their monsters into zombies. They will never recover from that. They will just like lose on the spot. So let's use this, turn other guys into zombies, and let's watch them crumble. I actually just don't know if they can play. I don't know if they have a win condition anymore. Like, I might not need to do literally anything from this point, and they cannot win, which is awesome. Let's bring this back. I can revive this because it's a zombie now, which is pretty cool. I'll pay 2,000 life points. And then I'll make zombie vampire. I want to mill one of their cards so I can make the Dompier afterwards. Or I can make Fascinator and no, that's not. Never mind. I can't do that. It's not a level monster. But I can steal it and make zombie vampire. But no, can't. Needs a level. If I hit any monster off them, I will do that here. So let's see what we hit. And they don't even want to go through the motions. See, that's the thing. When you play a deck that's a little slow, they don't even give you the chance to show your might. And I think it's actually very fitting. Because we are creating more vampires, more zombies. And that Plant Duelist has been drained of their blood. And soon, they will turn into zombie duels. Yeah, I'm such a fool, man. All right, so that was vampires, and the games felt really short today. I feel like the games actually went pretty fast. This deck can kill and apply pressure pretty quickly, and of course, opponents concede before I dealt final blows, or even got to summon my vampire boss monsters, but you can see it all coming together there. Now, I didn't get to show off everything this deck could do, because obviously I got hand-trapped, interacted with it pretty much every point of the video, nor did I draw the Kashtira cards to show you those in action. But the deck was super cool, and let me know what you guys think as well, if there's any other changes you can make. And as you can see here, this deck was incredibly proficient without Vampire Voivode, and I can't think of a single time where it's a card I actually would have wanted to see in my hand. So please, if you're looking at making a vampire deck, think with the modern thoughts. We don't focus on cards that are antiquated double tributes. We press forward with special summons, stealing their monsters, and making them all zombies. Anyways, that's going to be it for now, and I'll see you guys all with the next Halloween haunt next week. Ooh.